Today's episode is brought to you by Mazars.
SoundCartel.
From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. A new law has come into effect that eliminates secrecy provisions in employment contracts. So it's now illegal to require your workers to keep their wage a secret. It's been designed to stop inequality. But will it actually drive wages up? The answer is no, according to Matthew Addison, Chair of the Small Business Industry's peak body, the Council of Small Business Organisations Australia, or COSBOA. Matthew starts by explaining the nature of the changes to Jeff Waters.
The recent industrial relations reform changes that are now in law, brought in late last year, include this concept of prohibiting you from demanding that pay rates remain secret. Now, let me turn that round a little bit. What this law does is says to an employer, in your contracts going forward, or any amendments to your contract going forward from the 7th of December last year, you cannot prohibit disclosure of pay rates. But the law doesn't say to an employee, you must talk about your pay rates. So it's a little interesting, Jeff, that what it's trying to do is say you can't prevent it happening as an employer, but employees, you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. So one employee could ask me, Matthew, what's your pay rate? And I can choose whether I respond or not. I can choose whether I enter that discussion. But the purpose of the law was to prevent these pay secrecy provisions being brought into contracts or amended contracts going forward.
Why did the government think that was necessary?
It appears that there is a view that it allows some employers to be in a position of real power in terms of the way they negotiate different contracts with different workers. So there is a concept that you might have two workers that work side by side, maybe on the same supply production line, and they might be getting paid very different amounts for no good reason. So there is a view that that is disadvantage one employee over another when their duties, roles, responsibilities and experience might all be the same. And hence this is trying to prevent secrecy causing inequity between workers.
I suppose it would have an impact on gender inequality of wages as well.
I certainly think that's an element of it, Jeff, that we have these real shift in the employment environment in Australia. We are looking for equity. We are looking for gender equity. We're looking for workplace equity. We're looking for that level playing field so that workers are being paid what they are worth. And this is just one element that was seen as an area of risk or negativity to obtaining some of that pay equity.
As an organisation, does COSBOA agree with the changes, or do you think it's a bad idea?
Remembering what the pay secrecy clauses do is say that your contract can no longer prohibit a worker from asking somebody else. So all it's done is ensure that you're allowed to ask. It doesn't force anybody to say, I'm going to tell you what my pay rate is. So it's an interesting place that our Australian workplace environment is in. We don't see it creating huge risks or problems to the workplace environment if it is handled and implemented properly.
There seems, though, that there might be a possibility that it would drive wages up. Is that a fear that we should have?
I'm not seeing it or feeling that this is the biggest element of wage increases at the moment. We have a supply and demand situation in Australia at the moment where you've got worker shortages. So most industries, most of our members are telling us they are significantly short in employee numbers and they are looking for employees. So because there is a lack of supply, wages are going up. We're hearing of 20% raises in wages. We're hearing of sign-on bonuses. We're hearing of people jumping jobs and for exactly the same job with a new employer, getting a 20% pay increase. So it's that supply and demand is driving the wages growth. along with the normal inflation impacts that we're having.
How will this impact me in a practical sense as a business owner or manager? Will it change the way that I have to operate?
Look, the biggest change for most small businesses is looking at the clauses in your standard employment contracts. If you previously had in your template a pay secrecy clause, that would now become invalid for any new contract or amended contract from 7th of December going forward. So we need to update those templates. That, to me, is the biggest one. The next one, in small business, Jeff, the business owners tend to be in constant communication with their workers. There is constant engagement going on, and pay secrecy shouldn't be an issue between the employees and employers in a small business world. There's ongoing dialogue. If this clause leads to even increased dialogue, that feels like a better workplace.
Do you have any other advice for business owners on how this all should be handled?
As with all the industrial relations aspects, we very much advise small business owners to seek expert assistance. We as COSBOA are a peak body of industry associations. Those industry associations are expert information providers. They understand the context of these things for your specific industry. So we would advise small businesses to tap into their industry advisors. We also suggest they tap into their trusted advisor network, their bookkeepers, their accountants, their lawyers, their IR experts, their payroll advisors, to get the right advice and understand how to implement these changes.
That was Matthew Addison, Chair of the Council of Small Business Associations, Australia. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow @BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Mazars. To find out more, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.